He's simply ravishing.
Oh, here we go. It's I've got double pictures of the sweaty head. Hang on a sec. He didn't actually disappear. He's became attached to the firework layer, but that's fine. That's just for me to worry about. Welcome everyone to the Nerdy Up North Rumblecast. We're here. I'm Jake. I'm joined by my co-host Sloop. And
hello!
We're here to talk about Capital Combat 1999, the return of Robocop. That's
Hold
the
on,
full
not
title.
1999. Don't give it credit. 1990, not 99.
Sorry,
Can
yeah.
you imagine if this was 99?
God damn it.
With them kind of graphics.
Capital Combat
yeah.
90, the return of Robocop.
NWA Capital Combat 90. Colon. The return of Robocop.
Just keeps getting longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is an interesting event. We'll just kind of get straight
Bear in
into
mind,
it.
this is your decision. This is your decision to do this one because you were enamored by the Robocop. I think.
I had seen that clip before. Yeah, this was my fault for being like, Robocop's my favorite film. And then you were like, guess what's just come on YouTube?
Yeah. Let's take advantage of this.
So it is a famous wrestling moment. I've heard it described as the worst WCW moment, which I don't agree with. I don't think there's that much wrong with what they do, like with it. It's a bit disappointing, but it's not like offensive.
It's not horrendous or offensive, no. And I think the reason it's known as one of the worst moments is because if I remember from reading up on it, it's one of the moments that inspired Wrestle Crap.
Yeah. Just to, in general, give them an idea to start a channel.
It like willed that into existence. So I think, obviously, think of Wrestle Crap, you think of that, you think, oh, that must be shite. But I think it's certainly something that happens.
Yeah.
It's the kindest thing to say about it. It happened.
But WCW had the Shockmaster happen, so I feel like you can't say
3 years later that as well.
I know.
And just think a year later they had Oz. Did you ever remember Oz?
Yes, I saw a picture of Oz today. Actually, I was looking at a picture of Oz today. That's a normal thing to happen.
Right, good for a Wednesday, just to cleanse the mind. A picture of Kevin Nash as Oz
He always looks really confused. What's my gimmick, man? But yeah, we'll get into it. I liked how it started off with a 90s FMV case file opening.
That was so weird. And did you read the content of it? Classified information to do with Sting's role in the Four Horsemen. I'm like, what? And then it never ever gets brought back up. This classified information. I was like, what?
The Horseman Gate scandal.
And I did like the way that it, the papers came off and then it zoomed in onto Sting and he just kind of went, and then... but yeah, graphic design is my passion. I bet that cost a lot of money in 1990 to do it.
Yeah, it probably
Just do that
did.
little info.
Because when you think about it, like even in movies, we weren't seeing digital effects that often until like the mid-90s.
Not unless you count like things like the Terminator and stuff, but even that.
Yeah, that was
Terminator
92 still,
cost
wasn't it?
a lot of money. Yeah, and that cost millions to make. So
yeah,
there was definitely some effort put into this, I think, to make it futuristic.
Ted Turner's bottomless pockets, man. You can do anything.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole point in this was, if I remember rightly, it was a Turner Broadcasting had a deal with somebody, and they did, we'll do a crossover, so we'll get more people watch the wrestling. But we're going to also promote Robocop 2, not the best Robocop, sadly, at the same time. And they thought, we'll get Robocop in to do a thing.
Yes, because it's 100%. They make the announcers say the return of Robocop every time they say Capital Combat.
But what I don't understand is by saying the return of Robocop, they're insinuating in my head that he's already been in WCW.
Yeah.
Not that he's returning to the cinema screen, that he's returning back to WCW about after this unknown first appearance, whenever that may have been. It makes no sense.
Because we watched a shoot interview where Jim Cornette was talking about this deal, and he kind of hated the whole idea because he was like the poster looked like a movie poster. You wouldn't think it was a wrestling show, and like he is kind of right.
Yeah,
because it's Robocop and like the Legion of Doom like being like, whoa, but they're not even like looking at Robocop or anything. There's no like synergy.
In the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors as they are back then, are literally in the first match, and then that's it. There's no other involvement.
They don't have any story either. Like they don't really have anything.
No connection to Robocop, so I have no idea. Obviously, they were so over that Legion of Doom of Road Warriors, they would get people watching because everybody loved them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't put them, who are after the 8th minute or something, on in the rest of the pay-per-view. Yeah. And then Robocop, who doesn't have any interaction with them and doesn't come in until about 2.5 hours into the pay-per-view. It's insane behaviour.
And on top of that, I think
Hawk
and Animal were going to leave soon. On top of all of that, it's like they weren't here for much longer.
I think they left the following year, or maybe it's the end of 90. Yeah, they ended up in WWF, didn't they?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Because we'd been jumping around the timeline, but we watched something from 92 with them in, and then they're back again. So it's also apparently Armed Forces Day when this took place, so they have a Star Spangled Banner like marching band in the arena. Paul Satan put him through the table. Robocop cannot move.
Not in that sort of motion.
If you put him through a table, the outfit would have exploded off the man.
One thing I did like about the anthem was the fact they didn't have someone singing over the top of it. It was a very respectable sort of band version.
Yeah.
And I did like that. Also, I just want to drop in this fact. I don't know if you read up on this, but I think it's on the Wikipedia as well, that the stadium for like the first, or the arena for like the first half hour, 45 minutes wasn't full because on some of the tickets they put the wrong start time. The people were still coming in. Some had 7 and some had 8, so you had people coming in like an hour in going, what the fuck's going on here? Which I just thought that is so WCW. And I love them for it. I love that sort of slightly janky shit that they get up to, even though they're trying to be this professional company.
Because think about it though, right? If that happened now, if it was a printing error, people would be like on forums being like, oh, when does Capital Combat start? Like, oh, it's 6, but like some tickets, it would be sorted out immediately. You'd get maybe like a handful of people who didn't get the memo. But back then you would have had to call people and be like, where are you? Like from a payphone. Like you're supposed to meet me in Capital Combat.
Yeah. I'm in Denny's. I'm having some fried steak.
Grand slam.
You're missing Norman the Lunatic. Get in here.
Oh my god, yeah. There's definitely some wrestlers here where I might need your help to be like, who the hell is this?
Absolutely fine. I do also, before we get into the first match as well, sorry.
Yeah.
They do a little bit of intro. GR.
Yeah,
looking like
good old GR.
A tanned baby with a wig on. And Bob Caudle, who I'm not that familiar with Bob Caudle, but I know he was kind of very, very early 90s.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was around much after this, but all I could think of when seeing Bob Caudle was that he looked like the snooker player Dennis Taylor, and I couldn't unsee that, and it really put us off.
Yeah, he was
and he has
like
a fantastic hair part in that starter out there.
I was gonna say he had a very classical look, a very like classic sports commentator sort of, you know, talking head guy. But he was fine. He was very much like in that broadcast style, wasn't he? And JR
I liked it actually. It was a nice sort of.
Yeah, he was like a good straight man who was kind of just like doing just calling out what was happening, like feelings wise in the ring, and then JR was the one talking about the moves.
yeah, and JR felt like some of the hype man who would kind of get his blood up a bit, whereas Bob Caudle was a little bit more relaxed and a bit sort of,
settle down.
It was a nice juxtaposition. Yeah, calm your titties, Jim Bob.
Jim just likes talking about sports a lot in this, like what everyone's sports backgrounds.
And sports backgrounds, anatomical regions, and the geographical regions.
He did say solar plexus. Did you hear it?
Yes, I'm sure I've written down. He said something else as well a couple of times. I think I'll spot that when we get into the matches.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
There was some classic anatomical mentions in this show.
Tony Schiavone is here, and he looks a bit dead inside, but he might be terrified because I'm not sure how much he's been on TV or like live broadcasts at this point. I also thought it could be that he hated talking about Robocop so much because he mentions it like twice a sentence for the first bit. You know, like everyone's like, we anxiously await the arrival of Robocop, and I'm like, too right we are.
I liked as well. I didn't notice this until I sort of flicked back a bit. Bob and JR for some reason had different coloured mics.
Right.
And I don't know why I was quite charmed by that.
Like they had signatures.
One, red one. Yeah, that was quite cute. I can't remember about Tony's though. I think his was just a simple black mic from what I remember.
Because it's not super different to the way that like WWF was doing it at the time, but I feel like WCW have a bit more of a feel of like this is a live broadcast where the commentators can almost like talk to the people backstage and stuff. Like it's more of a like they don't call on it that often, but like there was a like the part way later where he's like, patch me through to the person who controls the cage. Like it feels like it's a full production, like in like a team more than just like everything's like sequestered off. Like the timekeeper is over here and he never talks to anyone. I like it's definitely more of a TV production vibe where McMahon was like making his own thing up, I think.
Well, I mean that's Ted Taylor, and he was the TV guy, TBS and all that. They knew how to make a TV show. But you're right, I think that felt like whilst it did have its junk in terms of wrestling, it was in terms of TV a better produced show at that point. I think in 1990 WWF was probably a better sort of produced wrestling live show, if you will.
Yeah,
whereas
like
this
a silly
was a better
show.
television product. It's probably a better television product than it was a wrestling like show live for audiences sort of thing. Anyway,
so I got pretty confused when the 6-man tag kicked off because like 5 people come out at the start, and I'm like, okay, so 6-man tag and there's already 5 people running around on stage, but it turns out it was just because they're like a stable and there was a big smelly looking guy who wasn't actually a wrestler who just came out with them. So this is Legion of Doom and Norman, is that correct? Is that the 3-man team?
So technically the Road Warriors at this point.
Yes, okay,
People start booting off.
Oh, yeah, because there's another tag team called Doom, so they couldn't be that also.
Yes. So Norman the Lunatic and the Road Warriors, obviously Hawk and Animal. So Norman the Lunatic, I have only ever seen one Norman the Lunatic match before this.
Yeah.
Which was the match he had, ironically, with Cactus Jack at the previous pay-per-view, which was Wrestle War 90, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great match. And I don't really know that much about him apart from he ended up going to WWF and becoming Bastian Booger. And then that's pretty much it. But the whole gimmick is that Norman the Lunatic, is a man that lives in an asylum, and they just sort of wheel him out for wrestling matches, but he was dead over. Like, he used to, give t-shirts out the crowd and all that, and everybody loved him because he was essentially just a big man baby.
Yeah, he
in
was.
A t-shirt.
He was very round as well, which I enjoyed about him.
Is round. Yeah, so round. And then you've got Kevin Sullivan, Cactus Jack, and Bam Bam Bigelow. So obviously everyone knows who them three are.
Oh yeah.
The other guy, it was called Oliver Humperdink. To me, I said that he looks like a fat Mick Hucknall from Simply Red.
Yeah, he looked scary though, didn't he? I was like, I do not like this man.
And he has the widest gap between nipples that I've ever seen.
Right,
That's all I could think of. Like, the gap here, like his nipples are big on his side. End to end. But
you want to measure
the one thing I noticed about this entire show, I don't know if you agree with me, the heels had the better music.
Yeah.
So in this match, the entrance music for Sullivan, Cactus Jack, and Bigelow was so much better than the other one.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. I think that's the thing WCW has always struggled with, is getting the music hits to be as like memorable. But yeah, there was a couple. I really liked the Steiners, which we'll get to later, but their music was like very like Street Fighter, like video game style, and I was like, oh, these guys are cool. Immediately they were over to me. I did like there was a Cactus Jack for Mayor sign, which I always enjoyed.
I know that. lovely. I wrote Cactus Jack for Mayor, lovely signage.
Did you like his nice leopard print as well?
His outfit, like, it looked like he's the weird sort of jacket thing looked like he literally put it in a thresher and then pulled it out of the thresher and just put it on. But I mean, I can't believe how young he looks. On that.
It's odd, isn't it? Because when we were kids, like, and this is maybe only like 10 years after this, like, he was always seen as like the hideous like freak man, but he always had like
wrecked.
He always had like the pretty eyes and stuff, though. It's like you could see the man he used to be in there. But like, he's a proper like stud. Like at this point, like he's so hot.
He's a proper bit, and you can totally understand how he pulled a missus who was a supermodel at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's a good-looking lad. He's got half decent hair.
He's tough.
And a lovely beard.
Yeah.
I mean, this match. I enjoyed this match.
He doesn't get to do a lot though. Mick, does he?
Oh, but he bumps like a bat. So this is the period where he is essentially he jobbed a lot. Like he used to go and get beat a lot, but you would get beat in such spectacular style that you'd be like, he's great. I like him. Like there's a couple of moves in this. Like Road Warrior Hawk, I think, gives him a clothesline and fucking nearly takes his head off. Just the way he just takes it. Jesus Christ! And then there's another one where he gets like. Irish whipped, and then he goes over the rails into the audience,
and that's like the steel rails as well, like the non-padded.
And then the other one where he's given Norman a neck breaker, but he jumps over the top rope to give him the neck break and just goes down to the other side of the floor. I'm just thinking, this is class. This is what you want from a jobber at this point, because he was really a jobber at this point. And I think, if I remember rightly, this is his last WCW pay-per-view, because he leaves and goes to Japan for like 18 months or something after this, because he was sick of jobbing. He wanted to go and do something else.
And then he'll come back as a killer.
But even I think he was the standout in the match, though, just because he was doing something that none of the other people were doing, and he looked great. And obviously the Road Warriors look fab as well. Yeah,
like I think we say this every time they show up, but they looked huge compared to everyone else, just muscle mass wise. But also, like, I thought Bam Bam had the best like presence, because even though he wasn't doing a lot, he's just got like the charisma about him. And when he does do something, it's usually exciting.
And he's standing up to the Road Warriors as well. So he is the heel, but the fact that he's not afraid to like make himself big and stand up to them is like, everyone's like, oh.
And he does like a massive like,
this guy.
He's the one who does the massive like suplex on Norman as well. like actually gets the big man up.
Impressive. Yeah. So I know this was sort of a bit of a nothing match, but there's some really good whomping in there.
Yeah.
You got Mick Foley bumping around and selling like a badass. there's a good, clear heel and babyface dynamic going on.
And I think Hawk does a lot of high flying, which is fun to watch because he's so big. And I think I wrote down he wins with like the flying clothesline in some fashion. Not the Doomsday device, but he hits that, I think. And it turns a bit sloppy after like all the tags break down.
It does. It does. And I think I did note the ending was a little bit. It felt like it ran out of steam and they didn't know quite how to. I
think we all got tired.
So
they all got
like,
gassed.
we'll just do that. But the crowd were proper into it as well, even though it was probably half full at this point because there was people out there not realising the show had already started.
They like went to get a drink and they're like, "Oh man, I can hear the people shouting for Hawk and Animal."
Is that the name? Is that the sound of a man going over a rail? What's happening out there?
If you missed Cactus Jack, I'd be well sad.
Well cheesed up. But I thought it was a really good little opening match.
It was
not too complicated. You don't have to think too hard when you're watching it. No. It's just meaty men meeting about,
big
and someone
men
flinging themselves around. And then someone just flinging themselves around madly just to get over. I thought it was really good fun.
Really good fun. Who have we got next? It's Surfing Johnny Ace.
God.
Who is one of the Bella's stepfathers now. It's John Laurinaitis who ended up behind the scenes in WWF for a lot, like E and stuff, and later Ruthless Aggression era and stuff. But right now he's a surfer guy with a happy-go-lucky attitude. But who's he about to meet, Sloop?
Oh my God, it's Mean Mark Callis.
Yeah. Which, for the uninformed, is the Undertaker. His proto form.
And I think this was like Johnny Ace. I think this is his last WCW pay-per-view.
Last televised match of all time, apparently. Unless anyone's got a secret tape.
I can understand why.
I feel bad for the guy, right? Because like he's one of them men who is like his physique is like awesome for like the 90s and stuff, but he has like an older man's face, you know, like, and he's trying to do like the young thing, like with the long hair and stuff. He looks like he's had a hard paper round as the surfer. But like,
well, surf has salt in the face.
So he's like weathered like prematurely.
It's a weathered surfer. He's a surfer who's taken too many, forceful falls into salty water. But
he's faced with the saltiest man in WCW apparently. But this is dead weird because obviously Undertaker, historically, we never get any information about him other than like his like mysterious backstory with Kane and Paul Bearer and stuff. But like this is JR telling us that he used to play like basketball in college and stuff like that.
That was quite interesting. I did also like the fact that he's from Metropolis.
Yes, that was odd. I was like where Superman lives.
He did get some banging entrance music. And one other thing about his entrance and he was coming in is as Mean Mark's just waddling in looking dead intimidating, Kevin Sullivan's tiny little arse is waddling out the other way. Like a little sort of...
There was a couple of times
really
like some of the wrestlers had to cross over, like they didn't get the timings right, and there was just random people wandering.
And look, this is what I miss in wrestling now, that sort of unpolished, janky nonsense. But didn't they mention he had a snake? Oh, there was a snake.
I don't know.
Or something about the Undertaker.
You might be thinking about his desert promo.
No, it was something to do with his favorite animal was a snake or something.
Yes, yeah, no, they did say that.
Because they're aggressive for people or something like that. And then there was another bit where they said he was 6'9", but then he was standing next to Johnny Ace, and they said Johnny Ace is 6'4". There was barely 2 inches between the two of them. So, and also, there was a really good commentary bit in the middle of this where they were saying Mark's hobby as a young man was being a bully.
Yeah, as if they interviewed him, like, what were you like as a child?
I was a bully, man. I was a big old bully.
And he's with Teddy Long, technically, but as you said, I think Mark might have walked out too early because Teddy Long sort of showed up afterwards, like in between.
Just in after him.
Yeah, it was fun to see Teddy Long because I hadn't really noticed. I didn't know he used to be a manager. I knew he used to be like a ref and sort of behind the scenes guy, and then he became like a general manager, sort of like on screen thing. So I had no idea that he was messing about and getting in the ring even at this time period. So that was fun.
Neither did I. I knew, like you, I knew he was like banging around. I didn't realize he was a manager on telly this early.
He must have done like every job then, because like I say, he was an in-ring guy at this this one as well. So this version of Mean Mark is interesting because he's kind of got all of the Undertaker moves locked down already. He walks the ropes, but he does like an elbow drop instead. Like that's his kind of thing. I'm guessing he stopped doing that because he was like, "This sucks," like bouncing off the rope and stuff.
Me, yeah.
But he does like the flying clothesline, like the jumpy thing that he does.
Yeah.
Like the thing where he like goes over, and he puts him in the corner, which is a classic Mark move.
Yeah.
And do the boo boo doo doo doo. But yeah, I was like oddly like it was like a weird like Twilight Zone thing where it's like, yes, this is the Undertaker doing his mostly same like in-ring style, but it's just different and he's ginger.
Yeah, it was weird as well hearing him be vocal because obviously the Undertaker's not a vocal wrestler
until later,
a vocal character.
Yeah,
until,
when he was like
lot later
American Badass.
Yes, but here he was like, he's really yelling and stuff like that. Oh, this was the first JR anatomy thingy where he mentions the trapezius muscles.
Yeah,
because he's going down on the trapezius muscles.
Yeah,
I honestly, both of these blokes in these guises did nothing for me.
No,
I thought generally the match, it was, let's be honest, pretty charisma free. And it was quite turgid in parts, and it was quite like I could see Johnny Ace was obviously the more high flying, more athletic one, whereas Mean Mark was obviously the big, tall guy, more power moves and sort of methodical approach, which he did in the Undertaker to great effect as well. Yeah, but there was just something. There was no spark in this match. There was no like. There was just nothing to get into, and there didn't seem to be that much storytelling in it either. So I didn't really know what. No, there was there's no reason. Tell us. There was no reason for these guys to be fighting other than it's a wrestling league and the after fight. But like it's. The one thing this match had going for it is they built up the heart punch like it was like this killer move. I hate the heart punch as a finisher as well. Generally, I think it's really stupid. I liked it. He used it as a transition move. Technically, though, it wasn't even a finisher because he did that elbow, the bouncy elbow. Which looked better. I thought the elbow off the top rope looked great. He couldn't have kept doing that though into his career. He's like, boo! Like later life. He'd have his hips would have been gone by about 1994 if he did that. Because he's a big boy. And I wrote down as well that JR said he's got a degree in sports management apparently. Yeah, and didn't say Johnny Ace had a degree in business management? I'm thinking, what are we doing here? JR knows way too much about the college histories of these lads. But yeah, that's the match. Mean Mark goes over. Heels win. Don't forget the slamometer. That only showed up for this one match. Yeah. Because they looked at it and went, that's shit, mate. Pull it off and I'll have the rest of them. Got an 8.2 though. He got 8.2 on the slamometer. I wrote it down. Yeah, did. But they never brought that back ever. Like in any programs, anything. That was the first only time they used it. Oh, I should have got a screenshot of it. I'm gonna steal it. Go back to it. Yeah. Garbage. Be like, can we just check I thought it was really boring. 8.2, yes. Haven't figured out how to get it to move yet. So this is where we start getting little hints that Robocop has a locker room. Oh god, this is so weird, this segment. It sounded like he was in a warehouse. Like he stepped into an empty warehouse. And it's I think it's Gordon Soley who's a really old school commentator. Yeah, he's doing like man on the street, like
I'm gonna try and
Box
find
pop.
Robocop. Hang on a sec. And there's like robot noises and like
Yeah.
drill noises.
Maybe having a wank, leave alone, go on.
No, he's sat in his chair having bad dreams. Oh no. I loved it though because it was like they'd like put like dry ice smoke everywhere as well. Like it was really mysterious.
There was effort. There was effort. And then he started talking about something about the little stingers, and he was very concerned about the little stingers, and then it just cut off.
It made it sound like the Four Horsemen were going to kill the children in the audience.
Yes! Some sort of Jedi purge or something like that.
Oh, you support Sting, do you? Well, I've got something for you. Freaking Ole Anderson's going to come and get you. He did look scary as fuck, him. I
made a couple of comments about him for that.
You know, when you can just see it in someone's face, like, oh, that guy is bad news if you get on the wrong side of him.
Oh, God. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wrote that down as well. Are they going to kill the young fans? So Robocop's here to, like, protect everyone.
Protect the little stingers. Very strange.
Very
strange segment.
Well, anyway, enough of that Robo business. It's time for the Rock and Roll Express, baby.
Yeah, now, the first thing I said, Robert Gibson looks like Krista Berg. Or reminds me of Krista Berg.
The hair. Yeah.
With the hair and the eyebrows and stuff. And he is absolutely not the promo guy.
No.
Ricky Morton is definitely the promo guy of this tag team. I'm not massively familiar with this particular tag team in terms of watching their matches because they were kind of not really in when we were watching it the first time round.
They were like talked about as a classic thing where you would hear about them, but not really what they did or anything.
With the network gone now, with that stuff's kind of a little bit not available now because it was more mainly NWA stuff, and it'd be nice to have that bit more of that back on.
I did write down that they look like McPoyle family members from Always Sunny. A little bit. I think it was the haircuts though. They had unfortunate haircuts and they were all wet looking.
Oh, that's amazing. The McPoyle family. Tremendous. It was a weird little promo, but I just assumed that they were just telling the other guys that we're coming to get them and we're going to kill you and win.
But there was a lot of like marble mouth about it, wasn't it? It was just like, blah, blah, blah. I'm scary. But that's not actually the next match, though, is it? Because
no,
it's I don't know if this team had a name, but it was the IRS guy, but it was like Captain Mike Rotunda. He was like a sailing captain for some reason, and Tommy Rich. Tommy was it Wildfire? Or am I getting
Wildfire? Tommy Rich.
Yeah. And they were just a couple of lads.
Yeah. So the Samoans. Right, I read this somewhere. I'll just quickly check. It might be on the Wikipedia. So the Samoan SWAT team were meant to wrestle Flying Brian and Z-Man later on.
Oh, that would have been a good match.
Apparently, the Samoan SWAT team didn't show up for television tapings previously to set that up, set the storyline up to make that work. So they basically went, fine, we'll just put the Midnight Express in because there was already an old rivalry there and, and all that sort of thing. So this was like, who do we get in instead of... Well, let's get two baby faces called Tommy Rich and Mike Rotunda, and we'll get them to wrestle the Samoan SWAT team, and we'll bung the other lads in with the Midnight Express. Hence, this match is, again, a dog egg of nothing. It has no impact on anything, and nobody gives a shit.
They spend so long with like the heel antics at the start as well, where like the SST won't like start the match until they've done like the sort of Samoan like prayers and stuff, and then they start doing like, oh, he's pulling my hair like type stuff. Like it's just really weird. It's like very old school heel shit. But Rikishi looks like he looks like amazing like in this match. I've never really seen him in this like body shape. I mean, he does great when he's like huge as well. But it was just just interesting. I was like, whoa, that's the quiche.
The quiche. I did have a couple of comments. Captain Mike Rotunda, is he a cruise ship captain? Is he a yacht captain? It doesn't specify what kind of vessel he's actually the captain of, and that bothered us through the whole thing.
Yeah, is it a
The
U-boat?
the Samoan SWAT team music reminded us of Crash Bandicoot.
I wrote down Donkey Kong music. I absolutely did.
And I just put, there's a lot of trash talking at the beginning, and I think I get it because they're trying to get heel heat. That's the job. They're meant to be these little dickheads. Yeah. And people are meant to like them. But I think that it went on for that little bit too long. Yes. And it got from giving them heel heat to just be, lads, can we just start the fucking match, please?
And they all got gassed out because it took so long for like the hot tag to happen, because they were like spending so much time keeping Rotunda away from the corner that everyone was too gassed when the hot tag happened, and it was just a bit like a couple of clotheslines and everyone rolls out the ring. Even JR was getting bored because he started calling the referee Pee Wee Anderson or something like that.
Oh, Randy, yeah. Good old Randy.
And I'm like, he's not that small, but he's surrounded by big, tall, giant guys, I guess. So.
And another thing I wrote down was the audience weren't really into it, and Tommy Rich kept clapping to try and get people involved, and you could just see he was getting nothing. He's like, Tommy,
that's sad.
Just didn't bother, mate. You should just do your thing. Go do your wrestle. Get your $50 or whatever. Yeah. Have a shower and then fucking go and do something else. Go and have a drive somewhere. But it was just a bit of a. It was just shit. It was just boring.
Samoan SWAT team, you can tell they can do way better than this if they want to.
Oh God, yeah. And it just you know that there's the talent, and even like Mike Rotunda is a good.
I like
technically
him.
Is a good wrestler, but he's just a bit of a charisma vacuum, and he's hard to sort of. Yeah, it's hard to feel involved in his matches because he is he's just a bit like,
and that's why he was some good. Like, he was perfect as the IRS, because it was like, I want to see this guy get beat, and I can understand that he's like very like, monotone and stuff because he's like an accountant.
Yeah, exactly. Or a tax man. And it works like that. I mean, he was very over apparently in the sort of early 80s, mid 80s, some of the late 80s, and good for him, but for me. Again, technically good wrestler, knows the fundamentals, knows what he's doing, but in terms of character, and Tommy Rich, I think similar.
No idea.
For me.
I did not understand what his gimmick was, and he had his 20 minutes to show me what he was all about, and I couldn't figure it out. I can't remember how it ended exactly. I feel like it was like a small packagey type, like they definitely. I wrote down the stole one, so there was definitely some shenanigans at some point. I can't remember what.
It was Samoan SWAT team shenanigans.
It was too boring. Couldn't remember. Sorry.
Yeah, it was really boring, and I just put down. I felt blessed when this match was over.
Yeah, especially because the Steiner brothers are next up on the little commentary thing, and
promo time.
And I said before there was some Marvel mouth, but these guys were like, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like, I'm going to suplex you on your head. And I was just like, all right, I'm sold.
So my comment here: Scott's hair, phenomenally shorn kind of mullet there. Rick's hat, tremendous. Rick cannot cut a promo to save his life. I don't know if he's like. So I put it's almost Davey Boy Smith levels of confusion, British Bulldog levels of confusion. I can't tell if Rick Steiner is playing a character like a dimble sort of dog character, where he's sort of a bit like because he's just a bit of an angry sort of animal type who isn't particularly intelligent, or he's just shit at promos like David Boy Smith is and can't speak and think and do the two things at once. He just
wants it to be over, so he just like goes as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I can't work out. He's either one of the best wrestlers in terms of acting or he's just terrible at promos. But and I really enjoyed Scott just yelling words with a big square jaw, just and
he's kind
of made sense, but angry.
He's pretty unrecognizable as well. Like if you track him back from like his sort of end of the career look, even like his most famous WCW, I guess. But they both look like $1 million, as far as like physique really goes.
But I just they were never promo guys. I think Scott got a bit better in later WCW.
He figured
when
something
he did the
out.
proper pub thing. Yeah, so it clicked from there. I think it's because he could just say what he liked. He didn't have to be a babyface. He could just call people freaks and
Just be like
flexing
fat
his
asses
shit.
and stuff like that.
Exactly. And I think that naturally worked for him better than him trying to be this really nice but aggressive babyface, which is what he was here.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's time for the. It's time
your favourite bit.
The
Your favourite bit,
sweepstakes.
which you messaged me about.
Oh yeah, there was this proper like Hank Hill and Peggy looking couple apparently won the whatever it was called, the Capital Combat 90 sweepstakes. Everyone, it didn't tell you what they won.
No, it didn't, and nobody clapped for them. It was really sad.
We just got this happy little photo. Actually, why haven't I put it on screen? I'm doing a disservice to this show.
Go for it. Get Peg and Hank.
let me go back through the archives and find them. It's going to be really big on the screen, but you're going to love it.
I hope it's right on the guy's pit. Can we also just zoom in on the guy's sweaty armpit in the background?
Oh yes,
that was ugly as shit.
I definitely freeze framed that because I was like, oh, this lad here, he's great.
I can't tell either if he's got like a sweaty under boob as well, but it might just be shadow. But everyone looked warm that night.
Looked
well
wet.
Done.
It looked wet in there, I thought.
It did. Do you think they're still alive, the sweepstake winners?
Yes. I'm just gonna say
find out if anybody's watching out of like the 1-2 people that watch this live. If you know the sweepstake
Mr.
winners,
and Mrs. Roberts,
Mrs. and Mrs. Roberts, please find out if they're still living. We would love to know if they're still alive. Thank you.
But ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the hair versus hairs match between two managers who don't have a lot of hair, but we're gonna go with it anyway. Did you enjoy that they brought out a special hairstylist? And
I thought that was hilarious, and the fact that no one knew who he was or gave a shit.
No, and I tried for upwards of 20 minutes to Google some more information, and he doesn't exist as a famous hairstylist to the stars. But what we
worked.
Absolutely.
Brother.
But I worked ourselves into a shoot. But what he did do though is he was actually the hairdresser for like WCW backstage and stuff. So
right.
Yes, technically by the letter of the law, he is a hairstylist to the stars. If you count Ric Flair and Lex Luger,
I count Mike Rotunda as a star.
Yeah.
So yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I was expecting to see some like really shady like social media from this guy, but no, he just he disappeared after this apparently.
Aww.
This is his only IMDb credits as far as I can see.
What an amazing credit to have.
They call him Jay Tapper. But yeah, if you Google him, Jake Tapper comes up a lot, who I think is a politician. So the waters may be muddy on this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had like a sparkly jacket on, I think, and like, very coiffed.
Fabulous. Yes, and with these little clippers and his scissors.
Oh yeah, he has to have the gimmicks. So this is Paul Ellering and Teddy Long. For some reason they're feuding because they're both managers of tag teams and stuff, I guess. It seems like Teddy's building like an army of like big men. So I guess Paul's like, I'm threatened by this. I only have 2 big men.
I need more big men. Or you must lose your hair. I did like they called him Sugar Ray Long as well. Yeah,
he comes out in the full boxing gimmick with the gloves and everything.
And that Paul Ellering bloke though, he did proper good nick. I think they did say he used to be a wrestler as well.
Yeah, he looked scary. He looked like the kind of like, when like the dad that runs out to chase all the kids off
and rips his shit off, and he's like, oh, yeah, jacked in that. Yeah, very impressed.
So we need to add something to the Rumblecast's Hall of Fame that I'm just inventing, because we had another gimmicked clothing item.
God, that glove.
The loaded glove. So that gets added to the loaded mask from the assassin category.
Yes. Oh God. That was from Halloween Havoc, wasn't it?
I think so.
The one thing. So the glove was obviously loaded, and Paul Ellering found it, pulled the thing out, And in my my eyes when I saw it, I thought to myself, is that a hard tampon?
Like, it looked like...
Because that's what it looked like.
Were they trying to say it was like a roll of quarters? You know, like you tape up a...
How are you meant to establish that from the low-res WCW filming quality?
I know, that's what they always trip up on. The commentators need to tell us what the gimmicks are, otherwise we're not going to know.
Oh my God, he's removed a frozen tampon from the glove. That would at least give some sense into it. But
I think later on he referred to something as an international object.
Yes, because they weren't allowed to say a foreign object. I've read that somewhere before.
Oh, that was gone by the 90s, was it?
Yeah, so foreign objects they weren't allowed to say at that point. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like an internal TBS thing.
Maybe,
so they used to say it in international objects.
Which, to anyone who can't work back through the layers, it just means it shouldn't be there. As in, like, you know, when you say like a foreign body for, like, you know, no, like immune system
it
stuff.
Doesn't mean you have an alternative passport for a different country for the object.
But they're fine to do that with men, with wrestlers, and you know, like, that's a fine gimmick. But for an object, no, it's gotta be international.
International.
So yeah, enjoy your place in the Hall of Fame, Teddy Long's loaded boxing glove. But yeah, this was just a smack. Like they just punched each other a bunch, and then he started hitting him with the glove after he took it off. And Teddy just goes down, and that's pretty much all she wrote.
It was. This felt like a quick piss break match.
Yeah.
But I think this is the sort of match now that you don't get in a lot of pay-per-views. Is that really snappy, slightly goofy, sort of daft match. It's not a throwaway, but it's just like a breather.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing now on pay-per-views across all promotions, like well-known promotions now, is that they're so intent on having these fucking
like
really
5-star matches.
Technical stuff back to back, which is nice, and I like watching quality wrestling, but if I'm sitting for 2-3 hours, you need to have those 1 or 2 little drips of something that's just a bit less intense for the brain to focus on and watch. And this is a perfect example of something like the opening match is similar.
Yes.
As well, it's like, and you don't have to like brain hard to watch it and exhaust yourself, and then this is just silly little nonsense to sort of break stuff up.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that like modern pay-per-views just need to involve a bit more.
Yeah, like if they brought it back from the indies, because it still exists in the indies where you'll get like a silly like interstitial bit of fun where it's like, no, this isn't a serious match, but it might lead to a serious thing down the line. You never know. But it's fun.
Yeah.
The pantomime element, as I like to think about it.
Yeah, exactly, Jay. That's exactly.
Chase the baddie off and shave his hair, and he's like, "Oh, don't show me on camera." not my.
Is this the start of Teddy Long and the Do-Rag then?
It could be, because he does have it on later. Like because he comes back out, he's pulling like triple duty tonight. Because this is already his second time.
He's doing a lot of work. So this might be the start of the Teddy Long do-rag. So
this world-renowned hairdresser does a real botch job, just chops a few locks off the back of his head and then gives up, and that's all she wrote. He doesn't finish him off afterwards because he's a bit like weird looking later on.
It's like bit and nuts in his head.
So this is where is it only 3 of the 4 horsemen, or is it all of them? Is Rick here?
No. So there's 3 of them, and then Ric Flair pops up at like, halfway through. Incredibly
intense promo.
Oh my God, it is, isn't it? It's just these men with huge eyes staring at you.
I'm sure like they'll literally say like they'll die before they let the title change hands tonight. I'm like, okay.
Really dedicated. And I've got here, Sid looks like a large waiter.
Yes, he's just kind of hanging out with them, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think he's been... if I can remember right. So Sting was one of the 4 horsemen, and then they turned on him and attacked him.
Yes.
And Sid, I think, is Sting's replacement, because the 4 horsemen have now turned heel.
Yeah, so they needed a baddie.
So they needed to put a baddie in to replace Sting. So he's obviously there I don't know, large waiter man.
Yeah.
And I've got Arn Anderson looks like a golf dad, which he definitely does. Ole Anderson, this is a comment a little bit on what you said earlier. Ole Anderson looks like a divorced dad who drinks 14 beers a day.
Yeah.
And will literally just strangle the life out of you.
He looks
if you breathe
evil
next to his door. He looks like possessed. Possessed.
He's cool.
And,
like, it's a cool guy, like, character to have, though, because you don't get a lot of that, like, smoldering evil in wrestling.
No. And I'm trying to remember if at this point he was one of the bookers. I think he was. But he wasn't a very... So this is the Jim Herd era, I think.
Yes.
Or it was the beginning of the Ole Anderson era. I'm not sure. But Ole Anderson ended up getting kicked out because his booking basically drove ratings down.
Yeah.
And then after him, I think Bill Watt came in after that and did all that stupid,
all the mad stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, Ole Anderson, I think I don't think he was wrestling at this point.
He didn't look like he was, but he was like, he could run around in the background and intimidate. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was one of the bookers, I think, and I think it was quite intense by the sound of it. I will say Ric Flair's hair never looked better than it did here.
Yeah, do you think this is like peak hair? Hello, Zeus.
I just think it looks the right sort of length and fluff. Yeah. And it doesn't, from what I can see in the last match, we'll come to that, doesn't do that horrible thing that it did when he had it shorter later on, where it turns into like a wet mop. Yeah,
because of his so much blood gets in it.
Blood and like sweaty bits get into it. But yeah, like you said, this was an extremely intense 4 men just hooting at the camera.
Yeah, they love that belt. They really love that belt. It is my favorite belt too, the big gold one, technically.
It is beautiful. Yeah. It is beautiful.
So, now we get Jim Cornette coming out because it's time for Midnight Express with Jim Cornette versus Flying Brian and the Z-Man.
The Z-Man.
They sound like a radio, like, co-host. Like,
they do. Flying Brian and Z-Man.
And the Z-Man. Zap. So,
they sound a bit like a Proto-Smashy and Nicey from Harry Enfield and Chums.
Yes, absolutely. I did a little research on Z-Man because I had no idea who he was, and I think the only reason he has this name is because Zenk's not very cool of a name. It's like Brian Zenk, pretty is that much. Right? Or Tom Zenk, sorry.
Tom Zenk.
Yeah.
Which Tom Zenk, bit of a strange one.
Yeah. So we'll call him Z-Man from now on.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I'll fix it. I wrote down here there's a little spurt of fireworks when the champs come out.
Yes.
It's like... and
I don't like the dubbed music for the Midnight Express, though.
Oh yeah, you could definitely tell, couldn't you, that the audio went like nuts for this part, like the audio levels. I was like, oh no, what's happening?
Yeah, it was a bit much. I didn't like that. I will say Bobby Eaton's mullet was wonderfully fluffy on top.
Yes.
He really knew how to take care of that mullet. Good lad. R.I.P.
Oh. So this is where the cage comes into play. And according to Jim Cornette, the only reason this cage was here at all, it was to facilitate the Robocop scene later on. And the way he tells it is he just got told he has to go in the cage. And it was sort of like, didn't really make sense for like the storyline because apparently they'd been getting beat every time on TV. So it wasn't as if he was like the X Factor that was winning the heels matches. It was like the opposite. And because of this, they end up winning, and then he's like, it made no sense because the baddies without their trump card still won.
Yeah, it was a bit.
So I'm with him there. He is right. It's silly when you think about it.
Yeah, I get he's the sort of consternation about it. I think with all sorts of things, it's clear that the Robocop thing was sort of shoehorned in.
Yes.
And it definitely sort of derailed the plans because putting him in that cage just seemed a really odd, random stipulation because usually when you put someone in a cage, it's a shark cage match.
Yeah.
Where they would then hang them over the ring. So I think Paul Bearer had something like that with Undertaker when he was in a match with Mankind in like '96, and I think there was a one. Was it China? No, was it China?
I don't remember that one.
I'm trying to think. There was definitely one where there was Triple H involved. There was a cage match. I'll try and think.
But yeah, like
and then obviously you've had.
I was
the
going to
gimmick
say
is it'll hang from the ceiling, but they didn't do that with this one. So
yeah,
I would say he's probably right about that being shoehorned in to facilitate something else, and they're probably told quite late on.
Yeah, get in there.
You're gonna have to do this. Yeah. But for me, I think the ending. I don't think the ending hurt Midnight Express because I think it made them still be heels because they still beat the good guys. But even without Jim Cornette interfering, which is what you usually do, hit someone with a tennis racket or whatever.
His loaded racket, apparently.
His loaded racket. It did show that even without them, they were still a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
And they could still eke out a win.
Which is good from like a viewer perspective, because you don't want your heel team to be like crap. Like you need them to be good, but then also like try and rely on dirty tactics to just get easy wins.
Agreed. Yeah. So I think, I see what he was trying to say with the fact that it didn't make any sense. And you could argue, yes, it didn't really make that sense, especially with being getting beat. But I think it did make them still come out looking like a good heel team.
Yeah.
So and everybody kind of won.
Yeah, and like Brian and Z-Man like looked amazing in this match because they were kind of the ones doing all like the heavy hitting moves really, and like a lot of the stuff. I did write down that I loved, I think, was it Pillman who does like the pulling like the rope springboard clothesline thing where he sort of like slingshots himself in by like pulling back on the rope. That's a really good idea. I can't believe no one's like done that recently.
Pillman was great.
Because everyone does the flips, but he was just like, no, I'm gonna use this like a slingshot to like shoot myself in.
Boing. No, he was good. I did enjoy as well. Was that the two commentary lads kind of I shouldn't say I like it, but kind of fat shaming Cornette a little bit, calling him out for his big butt and stuff like that.
He brings it on himself. That's the heel way, isn't it?
Exactly. And I know he's a very controversial figure these days, but he was a great heel manager at the time.
Oh yeah,
he just knew what he was doing. He knew how to piss people off and go with the crowd and all that stuff.
And you want to see him get his comeuppance, don't you?
Exactly, you do, yeah. And the crowd are so very into this and so want Pillman and Zenk to like kick the shit out with him. And the one thing I wasn't a big fan of, and I say this with all the love in the world for Bobby Eaton, the flesh and sort of coloured trousers. I think we're a little unforgiving. I think the other guy,
Sweet Stan.
What's you call Stanley, and that's it. He had the trunks on, so I think it looked fine on him. But then Bobby's, it looked a bit like, do you know when you get pipe work that's wrapped in polystyrene foam to keep it like warm?
Yeah.
That's what it kind of looked like to me. But I thought this was a really good juxtaposition to the previous match, which was really short, pantomime-y, bish, bash, bosh. This was like a really well-structured tag team match where both teams get their stuff, and at the beginning you get to see how good Pillman and Zenk is, you get to see how good the Midnight Express are. There's some really good reversals, like arm drags and drop kicks and stuff that looks really good.
Yes.
There was a couple of like really, there was a bit where I think it was Pillman did, or I can't remember, is it Pillman or Zenk did an atomic drop on Stan Lane, which then sent them into Bobby in like a bit of a clash, and they knocked each other out. And I thought that was a really nice kind of touch, and it just, you could tell like they just all knew what they were doing. It was a really well structured match, and then eventually they had Brian Pillman got isolated and was trying to get the hot tag to Tom Zenk and all that sort of. Unlike the other match where that hot tag, everyone was gassed and no one could be asked by the time you eventually got it. This felt like eventually you got it. Like, oh yes, and you were still really into it and stuff like that. I really, really enjoyed this match. The ending was a bit chaotic. Yeah. But this
was the small package because I wrote it down. This was where but Yeah, you're absolutely right. I loved as well like how Sweet Stan was like, he's like the king of the neck breaker because he hit one on the outside and then he did like a slingshot one, where he like bounce them off the ropes and then catch them back in a neck breaker. And I was just like, oh man, this guy's a killer. And because it was always like, it was always Brian, you were like, oh no, but he's the high flyer. You keep grounding him and then, we're waiting for him to like get a big jump in again.
Yeah. It was just really good. It was just really good, solid tag team stuff that, again, I don't think we get enough of.
No. And Express's finishing double team move is called the Rocket Launcher, apparently, which is a good name for a wrestling finisher.
It is. It is. I did like it. I mean, it didn't look massively impactful when they did it back in slow-mo.
And he kicked out of it as well. Like Z-Man kicked out of the finish.
We'll ignore that. Yeah. But I think this was a really good match. One of my favourites that was on the card as well. Really good. Yeah,
I wasn't super jazzed going into it, but then as soon as it started, I was like, right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Here's our first glimpse of Robocop.
Oh, is this the way we get the flash of leg where it's a little bit of a hello?
And the footage breaks and everything. Like, oh man. Yeah. But he does actually come out though. This is actually the full reveal, but we don't get to see any of the backstage walking around.
No, we don't.
So yeah, Sting comes out in his Gold's Gym tank top and big baggy parachute pants, sort of like nice comfy gym pants. He does have the face paint on at least. And we get this insane intro to Robocop, which I wrote down. The nation's #1 law enforcer. He serves the public trust, protects the innocent, upholds the law. The ultimate peace officer. Robocop.
The peace officer.
He's never called that in the movies.
No, I have never heard that phrase used with Robocop either. So I don't
Can
know
you imagine though, like if they'd gone full in on Robocop hype and instead of like, and it was the Four Horsemen and like the gang from Robocop 1, like Emil and stuff like that. It would have been so cool. Like, we killed you.
Get Kirkwood Smith in to do a. We should try and get him in now. Try and roll back the years. But I just. This was so anticlimactic, though.
Yes, I'll lay it out for people. So the horsemen bully Sting a bit, but Robocop can't really move because it's the real Robocop suit, so they have to be very careful with it. It looks plastic as well, because obviously they can't hide stuff, with like movie angles and what have you. So like Sting like touches it at one point, and you see it like bend inwards on him. Yeah, so he gets shoved in the cage somehow, and then Robocop comes and bends the bars off and then like lifts the door off the hinges, which does... I'm surprised he got it, because that visor does not look like he can see very well. And he didn't have a lot of trouble, because I could see that going very wrong, where he's like... But it's like proper like fake bendy bars. He like pulls them apart for some reason, and then they don't even use that to get out. And then he scares everyone away because they're like, oh, he's too strong, so the Four Horsemen are gonna run away from him.
So it's so... I get that they were working within what they could work within.
Yes.
Like within the means and within the
restrictions. He couldn't move in the movie either, because there's loads of times where he just sticks his arm out and like clotheslines a guy, because they're like, well, he can't move that much.
Yeah, and obviously with the suit, he can't climb in the ring. He can't do like a slide in the ring or anything like that. Fall off. But when you've got someone like Sid.
Yes.
Sid could just kick his head off.
Like
Sid's so big.
Sid would fight Robocop in real life, like if he was faced.
Of course he would.
He'd be exactly like the gang of like baddies.
It's just I'd be like the big fat muscle guy at the back, or the big sort of 7-foot bloke. But
what you reading, college boy?
What was stupid was the door came off the hinges, but it wasn't as he was doing that. It was as he was pulling the bars apart. The whole like contraption sort of came off as he was doing it.
Oh, so you think it was like? Do you think it was something that like popped and it like came off? Okay, yeah.
I think the idea was to pull it off the hinges as well as opening the bars. But I think when he's fried the bars,
Yeah.
it's popped anyway, and he went, we'll just improvise. We'll just pretend I'm pulling the whole thing off. It was just so wank.
Yeah, it looked okay though, as far as I could see it going way more wrong. But the problem is he just stands there afterwards, and it's like, I'm sure I've made this joke before about other people who just stand there, but it's like the Simpsons joke where it's like, oh, Robocop's got laryngitis and a bad back, so he won't be saying anything or doing anything. It's like he just.
That's pretty much it.
And I looked on some Reddit threads and stuff to try and see what people remembered, like thinking about it at the time, like when they were kids and that. And all the children at the time just seemed to expect Robocop to come in and shoot people, like act like he does in the movie, and like, take out the baddies in some like spectacular fashion. Like, you know what they should have done? They should have had them running around like a back lot, and like, he could have been shooting things that were exploding, and they'd be like, oh, like, Ole Anderson and stuff, and like Psycho Sid getting covered in acid.
And then somebody just popping up going, I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah, they should have had like more people that they could get from the movies, but I don't know. Were they all working on Twin Peaks at this time?
But yeah, it was a very underwhelming sequence, and sadly Robocop doesn't return either.
No, this was his last return to wrestling unless something happens in AEW.
Fucking
Which
stupid.
you can never count that out.
That's Time Cop. That's Time Cop, not Robocop. You bring fucking Jean-Claude Van Damme in, man. That's what Tony Khan ended up doing.
Oh, Jean-Claude Van Damme would love to appear on wrestling. If everyone treated him like a proper star, he would just, he would do it.
Let's do the splits.
But he'd want $8 million to show up.
Right.
So yeah, I did as much reading as I could on this, and obviously we heard Jim Cornette talk about it. Apparently Ted wanted Sting and Robocop to be tag champs somehow.
Are you joking?
I think Ted just doesn't know the logistics. He was just the ideas man, wasn't he? And it was rumored that Ed 209 would show up with the Four Horsemen at some point as well.
No.
It's the Fifth Horseman.
No. Thank God people told Ted Turner no. And that he accepted it.
Does Ted Turner not know that that's a stop motion figure? And the one
Probably not. He's a billionaire, man.
The thing in the movie was just a model that stood there, like, for the scenes where they needed to, like, walk around it.
Far removed.
Get the claymation guy out here, like, get Wallace and Gromit out here now.
Where's Nick Park, please? Call this man.
Oh, right. It's time for the corporal punishment match.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God.
So, not to confuse them with the Midnight Express, this is the Rock and Roll Express.
Yes.
Versus the Fabulous Freebirds.
Yes.
And these guys look shady as fuck, all four of them.
Now, I will defend Ricky Morton. Ricky Morton is cool. And is still wrestling, I think was in AEW.
Really?
Robert Gibson, reasonably recently.
Wow.
And he's a cool guy. Robert Gibson, I don't know much about him apart from
he looks a bit like
what
Mario.
he's done in the Rock Roll Express. Yeah.
Like Lou
I know
Albano.
Ricky Morton a bit better. The Fabulous Freebirds, I think they were very much an 80s tag team, so they're definitely not in my wheel. The only reason I know who Michael Hayes is because when I was watching WWF, he very early on was Doc Hendricks.
Yes, and he was.
And then he sort of faded away a bit.
He was like managing the Hardy Boys for a little bit as well.
Yeah, and he did a little bit of all that sort of stuff, but I never really saw much of his Freebird stuff.
No, he was in the gimmick Battle Royal as well, I think.
That's right, he was in WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, he probably came out to this same song as well, like the Bad Street USA thing.
Yeah. And I just think, these two, the Fabulous Freebirds, very much a very over 80s tag team. I think by this point, they were very much at the end of their career as a tag team.
And they're like notorious dirtbags. If people don't know, there's millions of stories about backstage, like in bar fights and stuff like that, and stabbings, I guess, but which may or may not be true. The thing that I thought when I saw them and like their gimmick, like I was like, as a child in the 80s, I probably would have thought these guys were cool. I can't lie.
I think that's what it was, because they were like rock stars and stuff, weren't they? Like Lynyrd Skynyrd.
But they were
types.
like also like evil and kind of like, we don't care about the rules, we're gonna win. And like I think that would have, I can see why that, like, you know, got loads of people involved and like, you know, involved in the gimmick. But yeah, big dirt bags. But I love because
can I just say,
sorry,
no, you're fine. Loved the Rock and Roll Express coming out with a jukebox.
Yeah, they got like wheeled out on a platform sort of thing, didn't they?
That was the best bit of the match.
Yes, because as I quickly mentioned, this is the corporal punishment matches where there is there's whips on each. The commentators are confused because they're like, I thought these guys were going to be tethered together by a whip, and then they're like, no, the whips are just on the four corners.
Well, because usually what this would have been, a corporal punishment match,
a leather strap match, yeah,
which is a bit like, you know, a Caribbean strap match or a Yappa Papai, whatever the fuck that strap match.
The Yappa Pie Indian strap match, Jack.
where you've got two blokes or two or whatever, and they've got a strap on each wrist, and it's connecting them, and they can use it as a weapon. Yeah, and they would usually, you know, try and hit the 4 turnbuckles and do all that. But this. So I've read it. I think I've mentioned this to you. I read up on this a bit as well. Things that I've heard about it anyway is that they forgot the straps for the match. So somebody from WCW had to run out and go and buy some straps. The place that was open or the place that was nearby or whatever that had something that was a strap was a sex shop. And they are in fact flogging whips, I think. Flogging sex whips. And all they've done for the match is tape them together. Yeah, so that they don't look like flogging sex whips.
But they still kind of do, even on standard def.
They definitely do.
So yeah, if you want to see Michael P.S. Hayes get sexually flogged by sweaty men, this is the match for you.
Oh god.
So these crazy looking lads underneath me, this is where they show up in the match. They hate the Freebirds and they're like, raw, we'll kill you. and the Freebirds are actually into it because like they go out and they start shouting at them at one point. And they've got this weird rat sign that it looked like it was in the shape of a rat, but I couldn't read it, so I would love to know. But these guys are probably dead by now. Unfortunately. R.I.P.
Hopefully not. No, hold on. Speak to the camera, Jake, and ask if anybody who's watching knows who these two men are.
Yeah, were they like because there could be a comedy duo for all I know, because they kind of seemed like audience plants a little bit, but then they didn't really refer to them. But I loved them. It made me like immediately interested.
I mean, I am agreeing with you about the Freebirds thing. I do not understand these hairy poodle men. They're thrusting far too much before the match even starts.
Oh god,
and in my eyes, only Rick Rude is allowed to thrust in that manner before any match begins.
It was like Bang Bang Bart when he's like the stripper and he's like, just more of me to love, baby.
Horrible. Just horrible. And I did mention the two blokes goofing on Michael Hayes, which is them two fellas down there. And also, there was another anatomical JR-ism in this where he mentions an epidermis attack.
Oh, nice. At the start, they were like, there's going to be some skin removed in this one. I was like, whoa, JR.
An epidermis attack. But this was another one, like the Samoan SWAT team match, where they're just a lot of fucking stalling and farting around by the heels. And I mean, I get it. They need to get heat, and that's how they're going to get heat. But not just time it better, lads. Come on.
Yeah, and like the floggers were used very sparingly, which when you think of a gimmick match, you kind of want them involved as much as possible. But obviously, like they don't want to get hit by them that much, so I can understand why you don't want them. Like,
but the thing is, in strap matches that I've watched, and I've watched a couple recently because I've been watching them in your houses, and there's been 2 Savio Vega strap matches back to back. They use it a lot, so in my head I think the intent was to use the straps, but as soon as they saw that they were taped together sex whips, they were like, you know what, we're going to do this really sparingly because I don't want people to write in and go, I think I saw 4 of your lads dicking about with some sex whips on Capital Combat, Do you know what I mean? And getting complaints from the parental network or whatever the fuck they had in America at the time.
Oh, yeah, the like what the right to censor's based off. Like, I can't remember what it's called.
Something like the Parent and something network. Parents of America, some shit. So I can imagine that they had an intent to use the gimmick, but as soon as they saw the whips that they were using, they probably went...
They're like, this is too gay even for us to put on screen.
Too sexual, yeah.
It's very homoerotic, because like I say, they're all sweaty and wet.
And yeah, beneath me there is a perfect encapsulation of how sweaty and wet a man actually got in that match.
Yeah,
because that's Ricky Morton down there
squeezing all the blood out of his head.
Yeah, and as well with Ricky Morton, I still am staggered about his hair. Literally looks like 2 haircuts on the same head, and it still does now. He's still got that hair.
Well, it must just be his natural hair. That's just how it grows.
Imagine he's cut it so much in that one way that it'll never grow any other way again.
He might have, he's ruined it forever.
He's stunted his own hair.
What I did write down was they did like a sunset flip reversal to a DDT, which I very much enjoyed, because he jumped off the top rope and landed underneath him, managed to not hit his own tag partner in the face or anything. Because I was like, well, he's probably gonna like knock him with his hand, but it was like totally clean.
I mean, as much as this match was kind of a bit standard and there was nothing that really jumped out, there were definitely sections of it or moves in it where you thought, these are fucking good wrestlers, these know what they're doing. And I do think as well this match suffered from being wedged between the match before. Well, the tag match before this, which is great, and then the tag match after this, which is also really good. This was like the third one in that sandwich, and I think it suffered a little bit from being there. And having 3 tag matches in a row, I think, is quite odd. Yeah,
definitely. As much as I give the Freebird shit, like they know this stuff in the ring. There was no like problem with what they were doing. It's just it could have probably used some more exciting like choreography.
Content, yes. You can tell that they're probably... So for my heads, for tag teams, you usually have like the sort of speedy athletic ones, which are like Brian Pillman. And you could argue, Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express are a bit more athletic and a bit more high flying. Then you've got like the big lads, like the next match, you got the Steiners, you got Doom, you got Legion Doom, Road Warriors, and then you've got those tag teams that are sort of just those classic sort of old schooly types where they're not really athletic and fast, they're not really big and wumpy, but they're sort of more charactery and basic, if you will. And I think that's where the Freebirds kind of sit for me in that sort of... They're not bad, they're not amazing in my head, because I've not seen that much of it anyway, but they kind of can do the job and do what they need to do to kind of make the...
But like that kind of 80s like sunset strip thing is just gone at this point, pretty much. So like
they're not of that. They're kind of behind an era or behind a sort of a generation, wrestling generation. But this one kind of...
Apparently he's also is the mind behind all of the dangerous risks that the Hardys and Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, took. He was the one egging them on backstage, apparently. But I wrote down quickly that Sting in between this flubs a promo. I don't know what's wrong with Sting. He is off his game for this promo. He's just looking like terrified into the camera and like messing his words up. Robocop shook him.
Also, there was a random Doug Furnace. Said, he has Doug Furnace. Doug Furnace said like a couple of lines and then bye, Doug. That was it.
Because he's gonna be showing up like later, like on the next show or something. The Junkyard Dog.
And one quick thing, sorry, about the end of that Freebirds match. So they did I thought the finish was really good, where he jumped over his partner, sunset flip, got the whatever. But at the end, it did look like in slow mo that Ricky Morton kissed the bottom of Michael Hayes. If you watch the slow mo replay, it looks like he kind of goes. You can see it's just him kind of grunting and kind of getting himself out of it. But it looks like he kind of leans forward a bit, goes, and then like leans back out again. That's the way I got. I was like, I
Get
think he
that
kissed his ass.
screenshot.
I think he kissed his bum.
It's bound to happen
think he
sometimes
did.
in wrestling. Unavoidable.
Absolutely. But yeah, you're right about the Sting promo. I wrote down the Sting has words that he wants to say, but he can't quite make them make sense. So he says the same thing 3 times in 3 different ways.
Yeah, it was like it was
Just-
proper like deer in the headlights for some reason. I don't know what was up with him.
I don't know if he'd had some chemical help.
He's had that juice from Robocop too, whatever that drug's called.
But yeah, that was such a. The promos in this entire show have been bizarre.
Yes,
to be honest.
not really great, unfortunately.
The Four Horsemen one was probably the best one. But even that was reasonably.
It was too scary.
Still. It was intimidating as fuck. Yeah.
So this is where we get Doom coming out, and I didn't know that, because this is basically like Ron Simmons' Farouk gimmick, and I didn't know this had like roots here, because he's even got the armbands and everything. So it's as if they took this gimmick and then applied it to Bradshaw, like swapped out Butch Reed and like applied it to Bradshaw, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, they are so jacked.
Yeah.
Like, everyone in this match. It's saying something on Rick Steiner is the least jacked person in a match.
Yeah, he's the quick guy, basically, in this one.
Small, quick guy in this match. And I read up a little bit about, because Doom were originally a masked tag team, so you didn't actually know who they were. They were just called Doom.
Yeah.
And it was the previous main show before this one was Clash of the Champions. 10, maybe 10.
Yes, you've watched most of them, haven't you?
I've watched a lot of them, yeah. I think it was 10. I might be 11. No, I think it was 10. It was 10 or 11. And in that show, they lost their mask.
Right.
So this is the first pay-per-view they've done maskless. And obviously, I think the reason they've done this is because they're wanting to push them to is possible stars of the future, and they ended up doing that because Ron ended up as world champion in '92. Yeah,
and they're both like good-looking lads that they probably shouldn't be hiding behind masks, you know.
Yeah, and they're good talkers as well.
Yeah.
Really, like, Butch Reed is a good on the, like, when he's mouthing off and stuff.
Yeah,
that's great. Like, it's really good stuff. So I think taking the masks off was good for both of them.
Absolutely.
Propelled them, and I thought they were fabulous. I loved this match. I thought
it was so hard hitting. It was great.
Oh, you could just hear every single. Everyone's just jacked. One thing I did notice though is that you could tell on the walk in that Scott and Rick didn't have that pep in their step, and that's how I kind of guessed they're not winning this match.
Oh, are they one of those guys? Yeah, where they wear it on their face, like when they're coming in.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is the first time they lose the championship because they've held it for a bit. But I don't know. There was just something in the way they walked, especially Scott, the way he walked in. You could tell he looked a bit, and I thought, they're not going to win this match.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't pick up on that.
I don't think they do it a lot.
Yeah,
but it was just one of those things that I noticed, and I love Rick Steiner's hair here. I love that sort of spongy, sort of poodly, fluffy perm. I think that looks marvelous. It's so cool. You just want to kind of give him a little
and then he'd be like, ruff, ruff.
But yeah,
there were some great suplexes in this match as well, which when it's two giant guys, it makes the suplex even better because you get a nice bounce.
There was definitely one that Scott did on Ron Simmons that he just got over enough to not fucking crack his head.
Yeah,
and it was just it was tight. It was tight.
Ron Simmons isn't the kind of guy that I feel moves a lot. You know, like you shouldn't see him sailing through the air very often. He should be
not
planted.
Unless he's the one who's propelled himself to sit at you. But I did enjoy some of the commentary where they said something about the Steiners were going to be school teachers or something.
Yes,
I just
they
had
did
this
say
image of Scott Steiner being a PE teacher and just yelling, "'Cause he's fat! And all these like young kids.
Yeah, get your fat asses back. Have you seen the video of him destroying the Denny's on like a little like digger thing?
Yeah. That's so funny.
That's all I can imagine if he was in a school.
Yeah. Just
I wrote down there was a sick pile driver by Rick Steiner. And they said their clothesline is called the Steiner line for both the brothers. They said that a lot on the commentary. They're like, it's a Steiner line.
Steiner liners, yeah.
Oh, and this is a weird line, which I could only find because I did, again, research this as much as I could. He says Ron Simmons is Burt Reynolds' favorite wrestler, and that is only attributed to Jim Ross, as far as I can see a source for. And apparently, apparently it's because of, like, again, football connections, you know, like in hometown sort of things like that.
Okay, so Jim Ross has a habit of doing this,
like making up connections.
Because there is a match. It's a Cactus Jack match, obviously, because I watch a lot of them.
Yeah.
And he mentions that Cactus Jack is Charles Manson's favorite wrestler, which is bullshit.
But didn't they say? Didn't he get called Cactus Jack Manson tonight, like on this show?
He did, because this was the point where the previous show he had been Cactus Jack Manson, this one he hadn't. Yes. Cactus Jack Manson wasn't his idea. He didn't like actually having the Manson thing on the but someone told him that, oh, he looks like Charles Manson or whatever, which he doesn't really. Yeah, so they added that on the end, but then eventually he's like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to take it off and just be Cactus Jack, which is absolutely the correct decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a comment. I can't remember what pay-per-view or what show it was, but JR said he's Charles Manson's favorite wrestler. I think, who said this? This has never been confirmed.
Yeah,
this is completely untrue.
We'll have to ask Ron about it, because but yeah, like when I googled it, it only his Twitter showed up as a possible sort of match for like the phrase and stuff like that. So he might still be saying it to this day, but I can't look at Twitter anymore. So that was as far as I went.
Don't need to.
We get a Frankensteiner though in the middle of like a jumping in the middle of the ring, just like full on Frankensteiner.
Oh. It looks.
Scott.
I like that because it was sort of towards the end of the match. This is why I think the Steiners are so good. Is yes, they're powerful and they're full of meat and they can do stuff, but they're willing to sell when they're knackered at the end, towards the end of matches. And that Frankensteiner looked cool, but it looked sloppy, but it made sense why it looked sloppy, because he's been beaten and he's been beaten and he's been beaten.
It was like a last ditch effort thing. Yeah,
exactly. And it looked dead. Like it didn't look like a botch, but it looked like, oh, this guy's knackered. This is one last hope / hurrah, whatever. Yeah. It did look cool as fuck. And again, this one as well, the ending was a bit messy. I was a bit baffled by the end.
It was a little bit. I think like it was weird though, because I think they sort of said it was a bit of a steal, but I think technically Doom kind of just used like normal tag teamwork. Like he hit him in the back of the head while he was doing a move on someone else. And then like the one that way. And I'm like, I think that's allowed in a tag team match to defend your partner.
I just couldn't remember though who the legal man was, because it got really chaotic.
Yeah, it could have been that.
Brawly, which is fine, but I just couldn't remember who the legal man was. I was thinking,
did they do a switch? Is that the
legal man getting pilled? Yeah. But I think it was still a really, really good match. And the Steiners didn't look weak in defeat, because it had been such a hard-hitting match. Yeah. That somebody had to break at some point.
It was fun though, because like you said, it was a good sort of showing of how you can do a 4 big men match, you know, and not have it be like a squash or boring. Like, you know, everyone got the moves in. It was like pretty crazy.
I will say as well, Scott Steiner is a freak of a big man in terms of the stuff he can do. Yeah. So that always helps. Like, who else does like Hurricane Ron as our Frankensteiner? Sorry. Yeah. At his actual size.
Right now, it's only like people like Will Ospreay and stuff, and like like the Kenny Omega who are pulling that stuff off, and like plenty of the Japanese wrestlers.
Compared to him. Yeah, but then compared to Steiner, they're not, you know, however many fucking...
Yeah, he's like a triangle man.
Pounds. Yeah. Dorito man, yeah. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy the stuff he could pull off at that size. And even when he got bigger, towards sort of mid-90s, he was still able to do that stuff. I think it's when he got to the end of the 90s and he was getting a little bit sort of too big, I think.
And Triple H was like, why don't you job to me?
Come with your terribly injured drop foot and have a match on a pay-per-view and I'll bury you.
Yeah.
Poor Scott.
Terrible. I've always had a soft spot for him, but I don't know if it's just because he's insane in the funny way. I don't know if he's a nice man in real life, but I hope he is. He's probably been dropped on his head a lot, so I'll give him some slack.
I would say his brother definitely has some questionable opinions, to say it lightly.
Yeah, I suppose that's why he worked a lot less afterwards. Maybe if he's had some crazy views.
Yeah.
As Paul's saying, he is a freak, but he is good at maths. Is our Scott. When faced with Smojo.
he did once absolutely rip into Rick Flair on a promo on WCW, which I love that promo where he calls him like a sharpest person with a skin like Sharpie puppy, and it's so funny. I love that promo.
It's like a real, like a shoot from the heart type of moment.
It's a shoot promo. It is a shoot promo. Because I think he got suspended for it.
That's so lame, man. Flair can't take anything, but he's actually been mouthing off in the news recently and being like, I'm going off Twitter forever, like talking shit about Jim Ross, saying he's got cancer and all that stuff. And why? Just grow up, old men.
Go in there, just go to Florida and sit down.
Just
don't
stay quiet
on the internet.
Just shut up. Like that applies to so many celebrities. Just shut up. Like that's all you've got to do. Enjoy your money. So Ric Flair is up next. And this is a cage match with Lex Luger, who's coming back from, I don't know if it's a work staph infection, but
it is real.
I thought it might be the way they were talking about it, how you had a fever the week leading up to this and all that stuff. So that is insane that he comes in to pull off a cage match against Ric Flair after that kind of illness recovery.
Well, I had a little look up about this match generally. Yeah. And it was meant to be Sting and not Lex Luger.
Yeah.
In this match.
You can kind of tell just injured by the promo sort of stuff leading into it.
Yeah. And Sting had got injured in like a segment where the Four Horsemen turned on him.
Yes.
And he injured his knee and it required surgery, so he wasn't going to be, hence he's in this, but he's not wrestling in this show. Yeah. So they had to build this Lex Luger thing quickly, so Sting and obviously Lex Luger had been aligned and were aligning, so his friend Lex would step in on his behalf and what have you. And I remember reading somewhere, I don't know if Sting was booked to win the match. Yeah. But he obviously won the title a little bit later on, because Flair was happy to drop the Sting, but was not happy to drop Luger. So, and then Luger ended up winning the title, I think, off Sting, maybe the following year and stuff like that.
Because someone must have promised him he would get it at some point.
Something, yeah. But I think this was a good match in terms of trying to paper over the cracks of that storyline that they've obviously not been able to resolve. Yeah. But also keep it going. And then also to show Luger's here, Luger's fucking can hold his own, and he can, go with Ric Flair, and he looks powerful. He looks like a proper old school babyface kind of wrestler and stuff like that.
He's got that smile, hasn't he? Like the old school wrestler face.
He still looks like he has the same face as Mo from The Simpsons, though. I can't unsee that.
Yeah, just all the lines.
I can't unsee that. And I did also notice that the cage that they use is the same cage that they use in the infamous Chamber of Horrors match in Halloween Havoc 1991.
This is the deep pulls that we have Sleep on the show for, because I was quite interested in the cage, because I was like, oh, hang on, WCW invented Hell in a Cell pretty much, because it's the one where it's got the one where it's got a good foot around the ring. And that means the
Yes.
cameraman can be inside and can film the actual wrestling. It's a very
Yeah.
good idea.
But it's very flimsy, so I don't think
Yeah.
it was really designed to be like properly climbed.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are of that particular cage in terms of it has to be pin or
I
submission.
don't think you can
I
get
don't think
out
you can
though,
just walk
because it's
out.
got
No, you
like
can't
the
walk
roof,
over.
like it goes in like an incline.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Inescapable. Rick loved to climb up it for some reason in this match. He was always trying to like scamper up there.
Yeah, I was a bit confused by that at first, but then I think the commentary did a good job of letting you think what the fuck, and then kind of explaining, oh, it
Yeah.
looks like he's trying to get away from Luger because he's now fearful and he's got nowhere else to go.
Yeah,
he's like a rat with a drain pipe,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah. And like Flair really sells really well in this as well.
Yeah.
And he
yeah.
makes Luger look powerful. He makes him look strong, but then he's also able to kind of do his heely shit and
Yeah.
get back in the match and make himself look strong. And that he's just a good wrestler, man.
There's another
He's just a
loaded
good
glove
wrestler.
comment and stuff in this one with because
Yeah.
they accidentally lock Ric Flair's valet in here as well.
A woman, yes.
I really hate that she's just called woman. Like
Yeah.
it makes no sense. But and the ref has to like check her gloves, and then she's got some kind of thing again. We're not really told this is the international object. I don't know if it's supposed to be a knife or like like a stabby implement or what. I've got no idea.
We'll just say it's a pointy, hard tampon.
Yeah.
The previous one was a hard tampon. We'll say that.
If you probably like flicked a tampon at Ric Flair, I think he would bust open at this point, just from like the tap.
Yeah. Good God. Oh God. That's what he does, isn't
Do
it?
the flop.
Yeah. Ugh. I did. The one thing about Luger, so I never really watched much of Lex Luger. I never really watched much WCW, so Lex Luger sort of passed me by.
I think I only saw him a little bit when he had like shorter hair,
Yeah.
and it was like he was like a jeans dad wrestler.
Yes, with the basketball tops on. And
Yeah.
he used to get kind of, from the people I know that used to watch WCW, they were never really big on him. They always just said,
I thought he had a great showing in this match, though. Like
But yeah,
Yeah.
like going back to the stuff around this era, very late 80s, early 90s. He's. I mean, don't get us wrong. He's not like a complex wrestler. He's not technically he's not Bret Hart. Technical wise, he's not a character promo seller type one. But as a babyface who's got powerful look and basic moves, and who can get the crowd behind him, I think he's really good at this point.
I think you're right, though. I think like Ric Flair did do some
Excuse me.
like he did the job well, and he was making him look like amazing because he does kind of job for most of this match. Until the knee explodes because he does a superplex, and then Lex is like, "Oh, that was one move too many." Because before this, he's not selling at all, and it's like, oh, he's invincible, even though he was like so
the
ill.
Chops and everything.
Yeah, I did like that because the chops.
That was really cool.
The chops to me, coming from Ric Flair, like never seemed like they should like knock people over or whatever. But yeah, like I know they'll definitely hurt. And when Ric Flair's got you like on the ropes, or when he's poked you in the eye, like it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just trying to see if I like wrote down many moves in this. I really liked there was lots of times where he just really clotheslined Rick, and you got to see him probably like fall into a heap on the floor. And I was like, I love this. He almost military press slam dropped him on his head at one point.
Yes,
like Rick just sort of,
I know you're talking
he
about,
did like a weird rotate in the air, and he like almost landed on his head.
Well, that's another thing that I read up. I maybe discussed this about Ric Flair. So
Yeah.
when he gets back body dropped, or gets dropped when he's got to take a bump flat on his back, he always takes it slightly on the side.
Oh, gotcha.
And that is he does that deliberately because he had, I think it was something to do with the fact he was in a plane crash in like the 70s.
Right.
And ever since that point, I don't know if it's because he's got a slight sort of I don't know if there's anything wrong on his back, or it's just the way that he has to adjust himself. But ever since then, he would fall a very particular way, so he doesn't take flat back bumps. He always takes them slightly on his side because of it.
Oh, that
think
feels like it
that's
would be
the
way more
case.
dangerous, but it makes it look dangerous at least when he's flying through the
Yeah.
air. And you're like, is he gonna?
How about me? You've had a plane crash. Let's just not wrestle. Let's go do something a little less, intense on the. No.
Yeah,
I'll just
no.
get thrown around, but I'll land on my side instead and roll on and be back.
Till like last year maybe or whatever, he was still doing
we'll
in-ring
see.
stuff.
see.
But yeah, like and then he blades pretty quick as well, so you get the crimson mask with his blonde hair.
Looks great on him though.
It
He works it really
does.
well.
This was really cute. Did you see them lads in the crowd who had Lex like painted on the stomach and that like had the shirts
no.
on? Oh, they were dead cute. It was like three sort of like high school lads, and they're like, Lex.
Oh, that's actually, I love that shit. I really think that's quite sweet. That's dedication to the bit and the correct order of sitting as well.
Yeah,
well
definitely. They had to stay like that all night in formation.
Exactly. Not swap out when they got beers.
This match did have some good like psychology and stuff though, because as soon as like Lex's knee gets hurt, like Ric Flair's immediately like on the attack.
Figure 4.
It totally like changes the match. Like Rick's just like alive now, like, and he's
he's seen that. Oh, there's me in. I can get in there.
Yeah,
and with being a leg thing, I'll get the figure 4 and I'll make him fucking tap out. That
because like that's what I've always said about the figure 4. Like I heard someone like on a podcast say it's supposed to be a heel move. Like it doesn't work for the face as well because the entire like concept of it is you're supposed to roll it over and like reverse it on them, so it's perfect for the heel because then they end up like trapped in it and they're like it doesn't they don't get the reversal in this one, but you do get him like pulling on the ropes and stuff. It's like, oh, it hurts more because he's lifting himself. I love shit like that. And I don't know if there was much more stuff before this turned into
wasn't. This is you're totally right. I think this was, in terms of moves and stuff, it's not complicated. It's not complicated, but the way they built the match as they progressed, this, like you said, the psychology of it, the ebb and flow of it, and this is what I mean, like wrestling doesn't need to be complicated. You don't have to do like all the moves that you can do to make the match really compelling. Like they even just use the cage smartly, where it's like, well, Lex is gonna throw him around in that little space between the ring and the cage, and it looks great. yeah, of course it does. And it's not, like you said, it's not even complicated stuff. It's just a really good stiff clothesline here, a superplex there,
grind his face a bit punch, so he can blade.
Grind his face, exactly. And it's just that sort of really, really small, lower level stuff that you can watch all the high level stuff you want and you'll think, oh, that looks really cool. But then you go and see this sort of stuff and think that was cooler though, because how that's building into something else. But yeah, I like this match. I thought was like, I'm not a huge Luger fan. Ric Flair, he's good, but like I don't sit and think I need to watch some Ric Flair matches all the time.
No, I think like
a good match. I think this match.
We've seen enough, like Ric Flair just without even trying in most wrestling fans' lifetimes. But yeah, I was super impressed. But now it's about to get WCW'd, and so the cage starts to lift up, and then everyone's freaking out and running in like all the directions. They're like the refs freaking out, and I think like they'd set up something where it's like the Four Horsemen can't interfere or something like that. So
that's why they put them in the cage.
Yeah. And then what they do is they send in a fifth guy who can interfere and ruin the match, and it ends in a DQ, which is weird for Cage, but I guess it's because the sanctity of the match has been tainted at this point, so he couldn't. But so yeah, Barry Windham jumps in and like attacks Lex and everything. And yeah, this is where JR's like, somebody patch me through to the cage control guy. Like he's trying to lower it back down. And El Gigante shows up also. Oh, dressed like a Power Ranger.
I do not. So they mentioned El Gigante.
They did. They dropped a hint about him, yeah.
And I wrote a note at that point going, why are they talking about El Gigante? What's the... and now I realise why they were talking about him. But... he looks so shit. And he looks really unsteady as he's walking down, and I'm thinking, am I meant to be? Are we meant to be kind of thinking this guy's gonna kick the shit out of people?
Yeah.
And look really cool, dressed as a space hopper.
I thought he looked like
meant to
Tommy
be.
from the Power Rangers, pretty much,
It
like the
looked
Green
fucking
Ranger.
shite. Whatever they were trying to do with him, it looked shite. But he just looked like a rabbit in the headlights.
Yes, and like you said, he looked unsteady, and I think this guy's like a basketball player and stuff.
Yes,
so
and he ended up going to WWF and being Giant Gonzalez in the
This
match
is the
with
same
Lunatic
guy.
at WrestleMania
Okay.
9. Yeah, it's the same guy.
Well,
so he started here as El Gigante, and then he went to WWF.
And they put the hairy suit on him, and he fought
Yes,
Undertaker.
that's the guy. So if you think he did bad here, he did just as bad in WWF with his gimmick.
He's technically one of the Undertaker's WrestleMania victory, the streak numbers, though, I think. Like one of the first few.
True. Yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So they show up to kind of run, like fix this match, kind of save Lex and stuff. Sting comes out here as well. Did you notice, though, that Sting just runs past Psycho Sid, and he just doesn't even register that Sting's like ran past? It's so Sid. Wait a minute, like me?
Oh.
Proper like dumb
dear.
henchman. And I choose to believe that was an accident as well. He's like, you legit didn't see him. He's too tall.
Yeah. He's too high in the clouds. He can't see because of all the toxic fumes up there.
So like Lex gets trapped with all the bad guys, and they kill him basically, and like JR's like, you've made your point, get him out of there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I did enjoy that the kind of when they're running away, some fan like slaps Ric Flair really hard on the arm, and he spins around.
Yeah. Like, whoa, what you doing? Yeah.
Probably
I do like that when there's some. I mean, I don't want wrestlers to get hit or be touched inappropriately or be touched if they don't want to be touched.
I think it was a kid though, who's clearly like up a height about the whole thing.
Up a height, yeah. But it is cool when you see them like react to it, like they're booking it.
Yeah.
Because it used to be back in the day that they would proper get attacked by the crowd, like people got stabbed and stuff like. I think it was Roddy Piper got stabbed. I think.
Yeah, like leaving
like
sort
that.
of thing, like, and he didn't really notice it until
they would punch people because of course you would. Like they're trying to fucking chip you,
throw batteries and pennies and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I've been hit with a penny on the head before, and I can tell you it does hurt, and it will open a wound.
Yeah. So don't do it, everyone.
Yeah.
Don't
do it.
Don't take batteries to the indie wrestling shows for the heels.
But the ending, the ending was scrappy and nonsense and really stupid, and I did not enjoy it. It did do its job in terms of it helped solidify Luger as a proper babyface.
And I felt bad for him because it looked dangerous. Like you're like, oh no, they are gonna like break his leg, sort of thing, because he was selling so good.
And then it made the Horsemen look like pure bellends, which is what they are.
Yeah, and
so
luckily,
as much as I hated it,
and luckily there was no like danger with the cage, because that's always a worry when you're lowering and raising the cage that someone's gonna like accidentally get like caught on it or something.
Die, they get crushed.
There wasn't that one time in like WWE when there was like a cage spike almost came down on like Seth Rollins or something, because it.
Oh God!
They had it where it like had bits that would slide into the ring to like lock it in place, and he was sort of like scrapping underneath one. So yeah, we don't like heavy machinery and humans if we can avoid it.
No thanks.
But yeah, it was kind of like a classic WCW style. Show's over, folks, and just like the credits hit.
Yeah, and a couple of comments I had about the credit. What the music? What the fuck?
Yeah, I think I've put the magic jungle music comes back on or something like that.
But it's got like weird sort of roboty sounding,
like scary noises.
And whoa,
yeah,
what the fuck is
it? Was as if like,
and then
yeah.
I did note a couple of names on the credits that really made us laugh.
Okay.
Marty Beeson.
Nice.
I don't know why that made us laugh. And Homer Aycock. And I hope those I hope those two. I hope Marty and Homer
You Marty
are
bum.
still alive out there.
You don't meet
Marty
many.
Bum.
I've never met a Homer in real life. That's not something you run
No,
into very
I didn't
often.
believe that the people were actually called Homer. To be honest, I thought that was just the guy who wrote the Odyssey.
Yeah.
But apparently not. And there are people out there called Homer. Marty's got to be short for something.
Yeah, probably. And
I'm trying to think what.
It just has a northern meaning. Up here, it means you're a bit arsey, like grumpy looking.
Yeah.
Oh well, that was fun though, wasn't it?
It was a weird show because I was thoroughly entertained by
absolutely
a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
And then there was some that was really kind of boring and shitty, but then it's wrestling, isn't it?
So I heard as well that on the home video release they cut a couple hours out, maybe not a couple hours, but a few matches out or something.
The first 3 matches, so they disgracefully cut out the Norman the Lunatic Road Warriors against Sullivan, Cactus Jack, and Bam Bam Bigelow. The cut off Mean Marks match.
Whoa, okay.
And the Samoan SWAT team. So the first hour basically got cut off because they wanted to make it a 2-hour tape.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Which is shit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad we've got it preserved because there's you could easily see that being lost to time once it's cut off the tape. Then that's the version that goes forward.
But what's weird is if they did do that, the first match would have been the hair versus hair match. There must have moved stuff around. That wouldn't have made any sense. That wouldn't have made any sense at all.
But I do love that we've got like these forums and like Reddit threads where people can share this kind of information because there's no way like we would personally know. But it's great that you can find out the weird stuff. So yeah, we've got a bit of a different thing next month because me and Soup are going to see actual real life live wrestling. That's going to be us in the crowd shouting at the Freebirds.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is just talk about that whole experience and probably just some like general indie wrestling vibes and what we've enjoyed in the past and the differences between watching it on TV and actually being there and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll give a show rundown. This is North Wrestling's Thunderstruck 3. So that's their kind of their like WrestleMania kind of event, like yearly.
It is.
Big thing. There'll be a couple of famous wrestling guests there. Like Paul London's been confirmed. Sadly Tajiri got cancelled. He's at to stay in Japan, I think, by the sounds of it. Can't do like European stuff.
The wrestler who was Jinder Mahal in WWE is going to be there as well.
Yes.
What's his name? Is it Raj Desi, I think?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely Raj, yeah. But
yeah. So that'll be interesting.
Big man. They like to get a big American wrestler in, and when you see the size of some of these guys, like Elias and stuff, I was like, oh my god, crap.
He was jacked when he last year. I was so like, whoa,
just like, larger than life. Like we were just watching him across the room, and it's like that guy is too big, like
enormous.
Like, can you like what must it feel like to meet like a Big Show though? You know what I mean? Like I've got no idea.
Well, how old's Big Show? He was 7'4". He's tallest.
Yeah.
So I reckon he'll be probably 7 foot now because he's had a lot of knee issues and probably back problems and stuff like that. That means he's still at least 1.5 foot taller than me.
Oh, I would like to meet Big Show.
So he'd be fucking you. I'd go under his armpit easily.
I've always had a soft spot for the Giant.
I mean, he seemed like a lovely man. Yeah.
There's always stories about him just eating too many pizzas before his match and stuff, and I can relate,
Yeah.
there's many podcasts I've done where I've ate like a whole pizza before, and I'm like, yep, big Show time.
Yeah.
But yes,
that'll be cool.
That'll be exciting, and I'm looking forward to having some pints and watching some wrestles.
Now, before we'll bugger off. That means in August it'll be your choice because this was kind of a joint one, and the previous one was mine, I think.
Yeah.
Was it? No, previous one was Sammy's. So it'll be your decision the next time. Have you got an idea which one would you like to do in August?
No, but I think what I'll try and do is pick like a childhood favorite. And I didn't have that many tapes growing up, so it's a small pool of very weird shows. So I don't know. It could end up being like one of the King of the Ring 98, or it could end up being the Survivor Series Deadly Kids.
Do you know what? Survivor Series, is that the 98 one?
With the song. Yeah.
That's so good. I love that pay-per-view. So if it's Survivor Series 98, I am well into that.
Like I say, I only had access to a few tapes growing up, and like one of them was WCW Uncensored, which had a different Ric Flair cage match.
All right.
Where I think,
it was the one with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and I think David Flair puts a pipe through the cage, like a lead pipe through the gap, so they can use that. Yeah, and also Rey Mysterio is unmasked in that pay-per-view, which is weird, and they've never talked about it again.
Just ignore that happened.
But yeah, I'm gonna go back to the stack of old tapes and see what I can dig up, but it has to be silly. Because silly wrestling's best wrestling.
Agreed.
But yeah, thanks everyone for checking us out. Anyone who's checked out previous episodes, we love you. It's amazing. I know we don't post very often, but it's watching 2+ hour shows isn't something I could pull off weekly.
Can't do every week.
But yeah, thanks for the ride, everyone. And if anyone's got any suggestions for really stupid shows or just interesting stuff, just drop it in the comments. And yeah, I'll be back online with Marvel movie stuff, which I've already recorded for Thor Ragnarok, because we're plowing through those movies at a breakneck speed.
Yeah.
And then we've got all of our friends doing amazing stuff, like the Women of Nerd Culture, spotlighting sort of their favorite characters, and Anime Club, who's reviewing just like first 3 episodes of animes and checking out, like, you know, would you want to continue? And then there's Top Grumps reviewing B movies. We've got Monsters. Sammy was interviewing one of the McPoyles on Monday. So
what? Legit?
Yeah.
Legit McPoyle?
Yeah. I can't remember. He's the one in Westworld. Is it Jimmy Simpson?
Oh my god.
Sorry if I'm getting any of this wrong. But yeah, you should check that out, Steve, because they've got a horror movie coming out, and he was, you know, talking about the Kickstarter and stuff for Slay. And yeah, if I've forgotten anyone, I'm sorry. Cool. But there's a lot of shows now. But yeah. We're all having fun. We'll be back with more wrestling and our experiences of the live show. I'll try and get more videos, you know, like from the crowd. So we've got some like stuff to play maybe in the intro. But
nice, that's a good idea. Yeah.
We'll see you all next time. Hit the music if I can.
He's ravishing.